Hello and welcome to our next lesson. In this lesson, we will be looking at how to create a basic command line tool. So what we want this program to do is to count the number of words that any user input uh, for any input that is provided by a user. So for example, if at the command line, the user enters hi 3 times, then we know that that is 3 words. So we should get our return value of 3. Now, this is an example of a command line tool, okay, similar to something like ls or wc or any of those other Linux tools. Okay, so I will have a function called count, and the job of this function is to find out how many words are in the user input and return that result back to main. So in main, I have the function called and it is saved in some result, and I want to print that result. Okay, save that. Okay, now the first question we need to answer is, what is the type of the input that our function will accept, and what is the return value? Well, we know that count will return an int, which makes sense, how many words. But what is less clear is what it will actually accept as its argument. Now, it turns out that if we are going to use the command line and the user is going to provide the input on the command line, then that is the standard input. So in Linux, we have the idea of standard input, standard output, and standard error. So to specify the keyboard, we say standard input. So I'm going to say OS and I'm going to say std in. So what this means, okay, okay. Do I have my OS? Yes, I do. All right, yes, I know. So it's telling me that I haven't specified the arguments here. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Now, my input is coming from std in. Now, what exactly is that input? Well, that input will be a stream of bytes. Okay, and if you remember, a byte is 8 bits long. So we'll have a byte stream, a bunch of bytes. So I want to tell Go that my function count accepts a byte stream. Specifically, it accepts anything that can be considered a stream of bytes. And so it turns out that that is io.reader. Okay. And so io.reader is an interface. And once you implement the reader function, then you satisfy the io.reader interface. So it turns out that os.stdin, whatever it provides from the command line, right? So whatever it provides on the command line, that is a bunch of, it's a stream of bytes that can be read and that is classified as an IO reader. So R is of type IO reader, and since os.stdin supplies a stream of bytes, then this is satisfied. Of course, it's telling me that IO is not recognized, so I'll just Control S and Go automatically inserts it for me. Okay. So I have my byte of my byte stream. Okay. And so notice it's telling you reader is an interface, and anyone who wants to satisfy this interface must implement a function called read. All right. That's it. Okay. We don't have to implement read because it's already implicitly done for us. Okay. So I have my byte stream R. Okay, so for example, it might be hi, hi, hi. So how do I go about determining that it has exactly 3 words? Well, it turns out that we have to find a way to scan the input. All right, so by scanning, it simply means checking for spaces or checking for new line characters to determine how to break apart that string. So if you notice this string, each word is separated by a space. So if we could somehow find a way to tell Go that, okay, Go, every time you see a space, consider what comes before that space, a single word. We will be okay. Okay. So lucky for us, Go provides us with the ability to do that. And so what Go provides us with is the ability to read any read a byte stream. Okay, so we want to read R, and remember R is a stream of bytes. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we have to create what is called a scanner, and a scanner is able to read a stream of bytes and parse or chunk it up or split it up based on spaces or based on new line characters, right? New lines, \n. So how do we create one of these these scanners to do the job for us? Well, it's found in the buff.io package, and it's called we say new scanner. Okay, and so what this new scanner will do is it expects an IO reader, something that implements IO reader, which R does. Okay, and so it will take that stream of bytes and it will create a structure, a data structure, which is able to parse the stream of bytes. Of course, we have to save it because it returns that for us. Okay, and so let's call it scanner. The default by convention, Go likes to call it scanner. Go programmers. Okay, so we have this thing called scanner, which is basically a structure that will allow me to parse R, my stream of bytes. So how do I actually do that? Okay, well, to do that, then I have to use the scanner .scan function. Okay, so I'm gonna say let's keep a counter, by the way, since I need to find out every time we're going through the string, how many words have we encountered. So I'm gonna say for scanner.scan. So basically what just happened, this scanner.scan will go through every single token or every single word that it finds. And so when it finds a word, what should I do? Well, I should increment counter. Okay. And then I would probably return counter. Now it turns out that scanner.scan returns an error if there are any errors. So I need to explicitly check for that. Okay. So I'm gonna say error, and you've seen this before, scanner dot error, okay? And if there are any error, if error not nil, I will just return 0, since that makes sense. Now, there's one more thing I need to do, okay? By default, scanner will scan based on lines. So in other words, it will not look at the spaces, it will look at new lines. And so it will return back to me 1 because it will say, well, this is just one line. All right? That's what it does by default. But I don't want that. I want it to check for words. And so I have to tell scanner that, scanner, I don't want you to do your default, which is to check for a number of lines. I want you to instead check for the number of words. And so to do that, I have to actually tell scanner to change the default. And how do I do that? Well, so change default behavior of scanner from lines to words. Okay, and to do that, we're going to say scanner that split. Okay, and the split function expects for you to provide a split function, which means tell it how it should parse or chunk up the input. And so it turns out that buff.io has quite a few of these split functions that we can just use. It has one for bytes, it has one for lines, it has one for runes, and it has one for words. So lucky for us, we can just use it. Okay, and so what I have effectively done is to tell scanner, by default, even though your default is to scan by lines, don't do that. I want you to scan by words now. And so our scanner will now check for spaces to determine how many words they are. Now, let's see if this works. Okay, I will say go build because I want to build an executable. Okay, and I want to test it. So how do I test it? Well, let's use echo. Echo is a command you're familiar with. It simply echoes what you put in quotes, right? So if I do echo that, it does that. So what I'm going to do is to use echo, and since I know it's going to provide me with 3 words, I will say pipe. And what the pipe does, instead of having the output displayed on the command line, like what happened just a while ago, I want the output to instead be used as the input for our command line. Okay, that's what the pipe does. The pipe takes what is produced as output and it reclassifies it as input. Input to what? Input to the command that comes after the pipe. Okay, again, we could maybe change this to 2. Okay, and we could even do something else. We could even use the cat command. Okay, go.mod. The cat command simply gives you a listing of what is in a file. And so if I say cat go.mod and send it to stats, we know it is 4. Okay, so go.mod, 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words. Okay, so that works. What about main? Main has a bunch of words. How many words does main have? So imagine that we write a program that actually tells us how many words are in the program. Isn't that interesting? There are 88 words. in our main.go program. Interesting. Okay, so that seems to work. Let me remove stats. I'm going to use the rm command. Okay, and so let me create a git local repository. So git init, and then I'm going to say git status. Okay, so I have untracked files, and so let me track them. Git add. Okay. Git status. Okay, and then let me simply do git commit -m. Notice I'm using a flag -m. Initial commit. Great. Now, I want to extend this program so that instead of only having the ability to print the number of, to display or tell me how many words were provided as the input, I want to be able to see the number of lines that are in the input. Okay, so I want the user to be able to use a -l flag that allows the program to display the number of lines instead of the number of words. So let's do that. So I know I need a flag. Okay, so I need a flag. So flag for the line option. Okay, so this should not be difficult since you already are familiar with flags. I'm going to call my flags lines, the variable lines, and it's going to be of type bool. Okay, and we're going to have the user type L. We're going to let it be false by default. So if the flag is not present, we are going to print the number of words. We're going to scan by words. And our help message will be count number of lines. Great. So remember, lines is a pointer. Okay, and so I need to pass this Boolean value to my function, but I won't pass lines. I'm going to dereference lines so that the actual bool is passed. Okay, and so here, all I have to do now is to say that line count is my variable name of type bool. Okay, all right. So I want a bool to be received. And so to do that, I have to say star lines because I'm dereferencing. Okay, so what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this bool now? Well, oh, before I forget, this will not work because I forgot my flag dot parse. Remember, we have to always use flag dot parse. If you don't, then our flags will not work. Good. So what I want to do, I want to check to see if the lines flag is present or not. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do, since I know that by default, the scanner will parse by lines, then what I will do is to simply check if the line flag is missing. If the line flag is missing, then I want to simply continue parsing by words. So if line conc is not present, meaning it's false, then that means I should be parsing by words. So I will simply set scanner to do it by words. Okay. Now, if the user does provide line flag, then this if will be skipped. And what happens if this if will be skipped? Well, this will never be set. And so scanner will be using its default, which is by lines. So there's nothing else for me to do. All right. Good. Does this work? Well, let's find out. I have to go build again. So go build. Okay, let's do echo. Hi, hi. We're gonna pass that to stats. Okay, still works. Now let's use our new parameter L. Now, if I use -L, I don't have to put true because just by having the parameter, just by having the flag, it means true. Okay, so let me show that to you. How do I provide new lines? Well, I'm gonna say \n, that's new line. \n, that's new line. Let's put hi and let's put \n. Okay. Okay. So and I need to put a -e flag for echo. The -e flag for echo means recognize the escape characters. Okay. Don't just think of it as a part of the string, but consider it as an escape sequence. So I should be getting 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines. Let's add another. Yeah, 3 lines should be enough. Okay, and so if I do that, it gives me 4. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. Oh, why would it give me 4 lines? Is that really 4 lines? Let's try again. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. \n hi. And so that's 1 line, jumps on the other line. And then since echo adds a line by itself. So that should be what 2. Okay. So 1, 2. Yeah, makes sense. So hi followed by a new line will give me 1 line. And then this last hi, echo automatically adds a new line. So that's 2. So let's go back here. So this was 1, this was 2, this was 3, and then echo added another line to make it 4. Good, so that works. Now, does it work with go.mod? Let's see. Let's say go cut go.mod. And how many lines do we expect? Let's see. 1. This is a line too. So 1, 2, 3 lines. Well, it's telling me 3 lines, as the empty line is considered a line. Okay, 3 lines. Does it still work with words? Yeah. 4 words. 1, 2. Yep, still works. What about main? Let's see how we can find out how many lines are in main.go. Okay. Let me show you that it's the same by putting true. Right? I could put true. 42 lines, is that right? Let's see, 42 lines. Okay, so that works. It's exactly what we wanted. And so I'll do the last thing, which is to just remove stats. Okay, and of course, if we wanted, we could just check the help stats.h. All right, it has one flag. And so let me just do git status. Okay, oh yes, let me remove stats. I don't need that. Let me do git status again. Okay, so git add, let that go, and then git commit the -m flag, and so it will be added option for line count. Great. Okay, so this is just an example of how we can use Go to create a simple command line tool. All right. In this case, we created sort of a word count tool. Linux provides a word count tool, so let me show you how that works. Okay, so that's what we were trying to copy. So if I say echo hi, I could pass this to word count. This is a built-in program. Okay, and what word count does, it provides the number of lines, the number of characters, and the number of the number of words, and number of characters, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It includes the new line. And then if you look at man count, man word count, man means manual, right? It says it prints new lines, words, and bytes for each file. And then we see the options, -c, -m, -l, and so on, right? Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end of this lesson. Again, it's just a simple command line tool. However, it sort of brings everything together. We're using flags. We're using interfaces, right? IO reader, R is of type IO reader, which if anything that implements the reader interface, the reader function, sorry, is of type IO reader. And so I'm passing in stdin, which allows me to be able to read from the standard input. And then of course, since I need to determine the flags, I have to pass those in to the function. Again, it's a very basic function. There are other things we could have done. For example, I could have had count return an error instead of returning 0. And of course, if that were the case, then in main, I would have had to check result to see if it was not an error before printing. All right, that brings us to the end. I hope this made sense. Notice these are the packages we used. And I will see you in the next lesson.